Hi, I'm Karim Mamdani, President and CEO at Ontario Shores, and welcome to the celebration portion of our annual general meeting for the 2021 year. I'm pleased to be joined by our Board Chair, Ted Moroz. Welcome, Ted. This is certainly a unique environment for our AGM. Normally, our staff, patients, and stakeholders are gathered here to help us reflect and look back at the organization's accomplishments over the past year. Due to the pandemic and public health guidelines, at this time, we are taking a very different approach to our 2021 AGM celebration. Ted and I are exceptionally proud of everyone at Ontario Shores and the work they've done during the pandemic to keep people safe while continuing to deliver quality mental health care. We thought a meaningful conversation about the last year might be a fitting way to close the book on the 2021 and look forward to the year ahead. Ted, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. You're welcome. So when we began 2021, and we were just a few weeks into the pandemic, I can't imagine, but as board chair, what were your memories of that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember there was a fair amount of uncertainty at the beginning. How would the hospital operate? How would we be able to take care of our patients in the middle of this pandemic? How would we be able to look after our staff? But that uncertainty gave way to comfort after a very short time, because Karim, I would say thanks to you and the wonderful senior management team, you kept the board apprised of all of the measures that you folks put in place to ensure everyone's safety, to look after our patients and to look after our staff. And, bravo to you and the team for doing such a fantastic job.
Thank you. One of the things I just wanted to pick up on that you were talking about was the amount of uncertainty that did exist. And, the fact that we were sending you emails as often as we were. At the beginning, it felt like, okay, well, we could do this maybe once or twice and we'd be fine.
Right.
But, we ended up having to set it up in a way that we were regularly keeping you informed, because we just didn't have a sense of how long this was going to go on for, right?
For sure. I mean, there were a lot of emails. We were always being kept apprised of all of the great things that you folks were doing. And, you're right. I mean, at the beginning, we didn't know, we thought maybe this would be for a few weeks or a few months. Here we are 15 months later talking about what still is, and hopefully we're, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Karim, you were leading our organization's response to COVID-19. What were the emotions and the mood like around the hospital?
Yeah, I want to pick up on the word that you used right at the beginning, which was uncertainty. I mean, we didn't know what exactly this virus was going to do. We didn't know how it was going to affect people. We didn't know how long it was going to be with us. And there were so many of these things that we had absolutely no idea. And so the uncertainty was very, very palpable within the organization. The emotion was, there was a bit of fear associated with that, without a doubt. There was also rapid and conflicting information and advice that was coming to us. So we would hear from public health, we would hear from the Ministry of Health, we would hear from researchers and academics, and sometimes the information was consistent, but often it was inconsistent. And so what it forced us to do really was become quite flexible. Really, we were thinking about, today is today, tomorrow could be totally different, and how our staff, our management team going to be able to respond and change and be ready for the next sort of piece of information.
Sure.
But through all of that, I think there was this sense of confidence, right? I mean, we as an organization have gone through so much over the last 15 years as an organization. We are celebrating our 15th sort of annual report and AGM. And we've gone so much through so many different challenges. And so there's this sense of confidence that comes with, okay, well, we just got to get through this and we just put our heads down, let's get going, let's execute on what we need to execute and how we're going to move forward. And as we did that, there was this overwhelming sense of pride yep, here we go again. This is exactly what Ontario Shores does. This is exactly what our people do. They just meet the challenges, they just face the adversity, and they find a way through that to be successful. And so, yeah, there was a whole range of emotions that came out of it, for sure.
Brilliant job by you folks. I mean, as a board, we continued to meet virtually during the pandemic and get updates from you and the senior management team. And as board chair, I was very proud to see the #RisingUp campaign and the recognition we were bestowing upon our staff. When did you realize that type of celebration was going to be important as the pandemic continued?
Yeah, I would say that, early on we realized one thing, which was that this wasn't going to be a sprint. Like, we didn't see this petering out in a couple of months, but it was going to be a long marathon. And so how are we going to prepare for it? How are we going to be ready for it? And that meant really working hard on keeping the organization focused. Got to keep everyone safe. Got to make sure that our patients and our staff are able to function on a day-to-day basis. So we got to make sure all of those things work. But we also got to make sure that through it all, our staff remained strong, they remained resilient. And one thing that Ontario Shores knows to do is to celebrate. And we've had good fortune in the years that have gone by to celebrate on many things. And so it was important for us to say, that's a part of who we are. The part of the celebration also acknowledges the hard work that people put in, but it also gives an opportunity for people to revel and to be together and to have social interaction. And so that celebration was an important part of what we needed to do. We had to find a different way of doing it. We couldn't get together as a group to do that. We had to find ways to do it virtually, but that celebration was very, very important. And giving people a rallying cry, which the Rising Up was, I think was important for us.
Brilliant.
When we think about the pandemic, and it hit pretty hard, we were thinking about our staff, but we were also starting to think about others who were being affected by the pandemic. And we opened up the Healthcare Worker Assist Program to support mental health of those on the front lines. Shortly after that, we opened up the First Responder Assist Program in partnership with Wounded Warriors Canada. From your perspective as board chair, how important was it for Ontario Shores to be able to create these new opportunities early in the pandemic?
I have always admired the way Ontario Shores has community partnership as such an important core value. It's an integral core value, and to see what Ontario Shores was doing during the pandemic really shows the true grit of this organization. To be reaching out to healthcare workers and to be reaching out to first responders and to setting up these partnerships at a time when people most needed it, to show the flexibility of the organization is just it's amazing. It just truly shows that this organization walks the talk completely. Amazing work in terms of community response and the partnerships that we do it as a matter of course all of the time, and to see that continue even more so during the pandemic was just heartwarming.
Thank you very much.
In addition to the work created by the pandemic, Ontario Shores continued with its own work. We opened a new unit to support the mental health of women in the corrections system, invested in the use of technology to improve the mental health system, and moved forward with a number of other previously planned initiatives. When did you realize that our new normal would mean continuing the organization's work and dealing with the pandemic at the same time?
Great question. So, I probably would start by saying we're here to serve. And when you think about our clients, they're amongst the most disadvantaged population or subpopulation within within healthcare. And what brings us to care in mental health is a desire to change that, to change the way in which this group of individuals is looked after in our healthcare system, but then the potential of these clients to be able to contribute back to society. So everyone at Ontario Shores is so committed to that. They have this incredible passion around wanting to change that dynamic. And it was clear to us, as we were beginning to deal with the pandemic, that, we had to go through the work that was associated with keeping everyone safe and working through the pandemic. But it didn't change the underlying work. The underlying work was, we're here to serve. We're here to serve that really difficult population, that population which no one else will look after in the way that we could. And therefore, we have to figure out how we're going to do that. How are we going to find our way to looking after those clients? How are we going to find a way to actually put programs in place and continue to serve them in whichever way that's the best suited to them? So there was no question in my mind that we would do that. We would, as an organization, find a way to do that. And it had to be in balance. It had to be in balance with keeping the organization safe, but continuing to actually achieve our mission and vision, which is really looking after the clients who are so disadvantaged.
Absolutely. And so with that in mind, being a mental health hospital, we're always focused on treating and caring for our patients. But we've also invested in the mental health of our staff during this unique time. So what are some of those things that we've done to support the mental health of our own people?
Yeah, so it's something that we had invested in early, well before the pandemic. I've said it often enough that the strength of the organization is our people, right? The people are what make this organization successful. We don't have pet MRIs, and we don't have all these big pieces of equipment. What we have are people, and people are our therapeutic resource. And so we were investing in them very early. If you go, on our intranet as an example, we have a wellness wheel. And the wellness wheel has a variety of different domains where people's wellness can be supported. So whether it's financial health, whether it's spiritual health, whether it's physical health, all of those dimensions have specific resources that we put in place. In addition to that, our wellness program includes things like our summer challenge, other things that get people excited about wanting to do something different in their work day to day that would be what sort of better for them as a person. And then then we also have things like therapy resources. These are resources that are available for free to our staff, psychotherapy resources. And so if they're struggling with a mental health issue, or they're struggling with trying to find a way to keep resilient, they have access to these resources as well. So you can't have an organization be successful if the people themselves are run down. And so we will always invest in our people, and we will always be proud of what they can give us every day.
Fantastic. They are, you have the greatest staff. I always say that. The culture here is so amazing, and I just love everyone in this organization. Now, how about you yourself, Karim?
Yeah.
How have you managed your own mental health in these past 15 months?
Yeah, it's a variety of different things, right? I think, one of the things that we all lost was the gym. And I know that I've lost a little bit of muscle mass, and so you have to do things a bit differently. So, whether it's taking a long walk, I would do that, try and find a way to keep myself active. I meditate. I do, so I get up very early in the morning and I meditate, and that helps to ground me. It helps me to focus on kind of getting things ready for the day. And I came to work. As bizarre as that sounds, that routine was really helpful. The staff energized me. The staff give me a reason to be here. The organization gives me a reason to be here. You focus on the work that we need to do for our clients. You see the clients. And so they're really strong drivers and motivations about wanting to continue to do this good work. And I want to thank the board. Throughout all of this, I was supported by the board, and the board was, showed me the compassion that I would want to also show for my staff. So that's kind of some of the things that I looked forward to looking after me. And I'll turn that around and ask you, right? Like, how have you done it?
Yeah, it was quite different because I'm used to being personally at my day job. I commute every day, and so I had to work from home for the last 15 months. And so a few things. A regular exercise routine, as you mentioned, became part of my daily routine. And I would say a lot of video chats with friends and family, because obviously we couldn't see too many people. And so that became a regular routine. Like we would actually, schedule a video chat with our entire family on, say, a Saturday evening or something like that. And we did something really interesting at work because we also missed the interaction of seeing each other and, hallway chats and that sort of thing. And so we actually created an event called Mental Health Musical Chairs. And so once a week, approximately, we would set up, a video chat with someone in the organization that maybe you don't work with all of the time, but it's somebody that you would see from time to time. And I thought it was brilliant. We're continuing with that now. So there's, the new normal actually has mental health musical chairs built into our weekly routine. But I think it was those few things that really helped me manage my own mental health.
Yeah, well, and now as we're talking about mental health, the conversation has turned to the fact that the next pandemic might be a mental health pandemic. So we're starting to see the impact of, irrespective of the things that we have done to try and keep ourselves strong, the impact of isolation, job losses, lockdowns on our collective mental health. So what are your thoughts on the short-term and long-term impact on our mental health?
Yeah, I agree, Karim. I would say that the consensus is that the next pandemic is certainly a mental health pandemic, if it hasn't started already. In the short term, we've seen increased demand for our services. And I would say that even as we start to come out of the pandemic and see that light at the end of the tunnel, I think we're going to continue to see increasing demand for our services. But amazing work by the organization. I think that this past year is a year that any organization could have been forgiven for not accomplishing all of its goals that had nothing to do with the pandemic. But this organization said no. This organization kept going and kept working towards the future, working on things like our master plan, working on things like technology improvements and ECBT improvements, and the list goes on. And so I just really am truly inspired by all of the work that this organization did in spite of the pandemic. And I think that that is going to hold well for us to be able to meet the long-term needs of our clients and our patients and all of our community partners.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ted. When you think back to 2021, what would stand out for you as board chair as kind of the most memorable?
Well, there's a few things that stand out for me. Certainly breathing a sigh of relief when I heard that our staff were finally able to start getting vaccinations. I think that was very memorable. I would say that I love the hashtag Rising Up campaign where our staff were recognizing and celebrating each other's accomplishments, and that was wonderful. There was the community parade for healthcare workers and essential workers that took place right here on the Waterfront Trail. I thought that was a very moving experience. But what I think is most memorable for me, what makes me proudest as board chair, is the way our staff stood at the plate, they stepped into the eye of the storm, if you will, and helped other organizations combat the pandemic. We took patients from other long-term care facilities and brought them here and kept them safe. It was so moving. This was just amazing work. So I think seeing our staff working on in the COVID-19 unit, I mean, these folks, our staff are selfless. And honestly, I think their collective efforts during the pandemic would be the most memorable event for me, for sure. How would you describe the staff at Ontario Shores and the work they've done over the past year?
Well, you stole the thunder. Like, honestly, I couldn't be prouder, right? You sort of accurately captured the sorts of things that I would be bringing up in my own kind of thinking. When we brought clients from René Jubel to our organization and looked after them, when we went out to organizations, long-term care homes or group homes, and did infection control assessments of what their needs were and how we could support them. When our patients who were having food security issues, our staff rose up and found a way to kind of get meals to them. These were not things that we, as a senior management team, said, oh, we should be doing this. These were things that our staff said, here are the needs and that exist in our community, in our clients, and let's organize to find a way to be able to manage that. And so, that is something that will always stay with me. When you think of a crisis, you can either crumble in front of a crisis, or you can come out of the crisis stronger and you look back at the crisis and say, that's a moment when it helped to define what we are going to be in the future. And I strongly believe that the pandemic is actually an opportunity for Ontario Shores to look back and say, that's how we're going to be defined. We're going to be defined by rising up. We're going to be defined by all these wonderful acts of selflessness that we did for our community, and we'll always be here for our community.
Well, what an amazing year, Karim. On behalf of the board, honestly, congratulations to you, your entire staff, for such a wonderful job, for handling the pandemic, for accomplishing so many wonderful things despite the pandemic. What a great year, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much. And to all of the folks that are watching this, thank you for your support. Thank you for your care and understanding and supporting our staff. That hasn't been forgotten. And we're here for you, and we look forward to being a part of your lives in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you.